2, 1.
You're listening to the Millennial Minute Podcast, giving this generation what they want to hear.
3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? It's your boy Rod coming at you with a brand new episode of the Millennial Minute Podcast. We are glad you are listening and engaged. We are coming to you once again from Zoom because COVID is real, and we now have
it's a hoax.
We have a president-elect that doesn't believe it's a hoax. So
thank God
we're making small changes here. Maybe COVID's fake. Who knows? We'll figure it out. So let's go around the horn and let's introduce who we got here. We got our boy in Cali Speaks.
Hey.
We got our big boy out in AZ, Alif.
Hello.
We got our boy all the way in DC doing the Lord's work. Chib, say what's up to the people.
What's good?
Shopa Shouty. And we got our girl T. We got a girl T.
What up?
What up? What up? What up? And we also got our boys over at Productive Culture. If you're looking for production, mixing, sound design, or you just want to start your own podcast, Productive Culture is where y'all need to go ASAP. They've hooked us up and they can take your podcast to a whole nother level that it'll blow your mind. If you've been thinking of starting your rap career or podcast, it's time to stop thinking about it and just do it. All right, Shia LaBeouf, just do it. Just do it. So you can hit up Productive Culture at productiveculture.com/podcast. And you can also find them on Instagram at Productive Culture. Let them know the Millennial Minute Boys plus girl sent you, and they're going to hook you up. We also got our good friends over at 3-Bit Games. For those who are into video games, video games, comic books, 3-Bit Games is a spot y'all need to hit up. They buy, they sell, they trade all video games, consoles, Funko Pops, comic books, figures, trading cards. It's a one-stop shop for all your gaming and collecting needs. That was bars right there.
Bars.
They are reopened and ready for business, masks only. You can find them at 1600 East Holt Avenue, Space K24 in Pomona, California. You can find them on Instagram at 3-Bit Games. And new developments, you can find them online at 3-bitgames.com. So once again, Instagram at the number 3-bitgames or online at the number 3-bitgames.com. Support Black businesses, y'all. You know the vibes.
Vibes. Fill them with vibes.
Paid our bills. Let's get into our topic of today, y'all. So the topic that we're going to be talking about today is going to be about toxic family.
Yes.
All right. You know, we've heard about it. We're a part of toxic families. Maybe we are the toxic family member. Who knows?
Never.
You know?
Plot twist.
Wait, say it again, T?
Plot twist. We are toxic.
Plot twist. We are the toxic family members. So we're going to go... Today we're going to talk about toxic family, whether they should be forgiven or not, depending on the type of trauma that's been displayed. Is it just peace within ourselves that we need to go out and, forgive our family? How do we kind of navigate that as, from childhood to now being older, recognizing these toxic traits, etc. So we're going to go in depth about this topic. And T, start us off with a minute. I guess for our minute question, we can just discuss any toxic, lightly family experiences, things that we maybe grew up thinking it was normal, and we got outside into the real world and we're like, oh, that's totally not okay.
The show. Okay, let's go Chibs, Rod Speaks, Alif. I almost said Jordan. Alif, and then we'll end with me. Ready? And go.
Shoot. I don't have too many. I'll just say just dealing with cultural expectations. It's not super toxic, but just kind of that's close thing I can get to it.
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, I've been fortunate enough to not deal with a massive amount of trauma, but as I'm getting older, I'm noticing that my views and maybe my parents' views are a little bit separated. So those things do get toxic, and it's just about navigating conversations. So that's kind of mine.
I think for me, it's there's been a few things kind of doing with privacy. I can get more into depth with that in a minute because it's not what you guys kind of think. And then also just unwillingness to accept how things are right now.
Wait, that's time.
Whoa.
Oh, Leaf.
I think we just had a lot to say, so this will be really interesting.
Baby, so let's do a Leaf and then T, and we'll get into it.
Okay. Alif, are you there?
Hello.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Ali?
My bad. I actually left myself on mute.
Oh, you're good.
But I think
Do
one
you
for
want
me
to
is
come?
one for me is like living by some expectations,
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Kinda
like your happiness should be your family's happiness.
okay. Kind of like
You're-
Chibs, T.
Oh, that's very.
Mhm.
Yeah, go for it.
For me, it's growing up in an abusive household and with addicts.
Whoa,
Just to put
okay.
it lightly.
Yeah, just to kind of lightly enter the arena here with
Put some salt on
really
it.
light,
Just a tiptoe in there.
just kind of
crazy or
Just
traumatic.
sprinkle some
or
salt on
anything.
it.
just kind of creeping in here with my trauma a little bit. Okay, so really quick, one thing that was really prevalent to me on this topic was this tweet from Kiki Palmer on Twitter. She had tweeted out, "I don't know who needs to hear this, but forgive your parents." That sparked a ton of controversy on the internet because of course, everyone has had different levels of traumatic experiences in
People
their
are like,
life.
fuck my parents.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's not the best way to put it, but yeah, like there have been people who don't have as much trauma with our family members, kind of like Chibs, maybe Alif and I, just more family expectations, kind of like little arguments here and there, but nothing very, very serious. And T on the other end of the spectrum talking about, like substance abuse and how that has like really affected her life. So I think that we can start with T on this one. Do you think that at some point in your life we should forgive our parents for trauma that has been caused to us? Yeah, go. I'll let you take it away. Should we forgive
Okay,
them?
so this is really interesting because I never, ever talk about this. So this is going to be interesting. I think that, yeah, you do have to forgive your parents or your parent in my case, because you're not always going to get an apology. So I think in order to heal and really make peace, you have to forgive them for what they did and who they are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what are some steps that you took to forgiving them? Like, everyone kind of goes through these steps: acceptance, like denial. Like, what were some things in?
Yeah,
have you
like
forgiven
how
your
how
parents?
it went.
Yeah, like have you already forgiven your parents or parent in
I
this
wanna
case, or is it
say-
still a continuing process?
I want to say that I have forgiven my father, but I feel like I'm still really upset. Like if I ever saw him walking down the street, I'd probably fucking have a panic attack and like, I don't know, call the police or something. Like I don't think that I could ever be completely forgiving in that way to sit down and have a conversation with him. But I think I'm forgiving in a way where I don't want to hold as much anger towards him as I did when I was a little girl or growing up.
That makes okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so does holding in that anger, so you feel like that affects you more than it does the actual person who was, doing all of that stuff to you?
I think that as a child growing up in that environment, you blame yourself, or in some cases, they blame you. They're like, you're the problem, and that becomes really toxic too. So it takes a lot of healing to really realize that's not true. Even though the person that I look up to and who's supposed to love me and care about me is saying that, that's not true. Like I have to show up for myself and tell myself that it's not me, it's them.
Oof, got it. So forgiving your parents in a sense isn't letting them off the hook for the terrible things that they did. It's more just giving yourself peace of mind.
Yeah,
to
it's just
move
doing
on.
it for you and kind of isolating yourself from them in some way, if that makes sense. Like it's not about you, it's about me.
It's alleviating your mental.
Yeah.
Like we go through a lot of like, I guess like I'm not qualified because I don't have my doctorates, but obviously psychology.
You know a thing or two.
Yeah, but it's
We'll hold you accountable.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, it's alleviating your mental. We as humans have so many thought processes and things that go through our mind constantly, some that we're aware of and some that we aren't even aware of, So it's important for you to limit as much stress as you can on your mind because we already have our own stressors. And that is definitely a healthy way to look at it as, look, I went through this. Maybe I'm not in it now, or I'm old enough to realize that doesn't have to have effect on me anymore, and not letting it affect you moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Speaks, do you have any instances where, you've had some sort of turmoil with your parents that you felt maybe there was a way for you to kind of solve it? Have there been any, like, what's some word of advice that you would give to some people on how to, like, alleviate that mental stress?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Private, I touched on in the minute about privacy, but it wasn't like identity theft in a way. It's kind of allowing people to know kind of what you're going through. And I've always kind of been raised to kind of keep everything kind of close to my vest, and not really be forthcoming about how I'm feeling. And that's definitely affected me in relationships because I keep a lot of stuff in, and just generally mentally, I keep a lot of stuff in. So a lot of times people really won't necessarily know what I'm going through, or maybe I'll minimize it and say, oh, I don't think that that's like, something that I need to worry about, or, it's not that big of a deal, da, 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 da. But it is important to allow yourself to feel. It's important to allow yourself to not be so like, keep everything inside, because eventually it comes out in some way, shape, or form, and it can have like dramatic consequences later on. That's one of the reasons why suicide is so like, such a big thing. A lot of people are like, oh my God, I didn't even know that they were going through that, or like, I didn't know how they saw or anything like that. And being able to express that and feel comfortable enough to express that to, whether it be your support system, whether it be your friends that you actually truly trust, not just like somebody you met a few days ago or even a month ago, like your true friends, family too, super, super important. So yeah, that's, yeah.
Okay. I like that. So Chibs, you were talking about the stress of living up to family expectations. I think that that's a big thing in the minority community or in first generation parents coming to the US, because they do put a lot of pressure on their kids. They risked a lot coming to America, and they want their kids to have opportunities that they didn't have. So what are some of the pressures that you feel from your parents, from your family, or primarily your parents, and how do you deal with those, when they're maybe not to say that they're not proud, but they feel like you could be doing better? What are some responses that you have to them?
So we did touch on this in a previous episode. I believe it's not archived, so
Probably behind the Patreon wall.
It's behind the paywall at this point. So
it
if
is.
you want to cancel us, $25, wink, wink.
Donate
But if you want
some juicy
more
sound bites,
in-depth conversations about how it is living with some ethnic families, check out our past episodes. But for this current one, I will say, it just I wouldn't say it's toxic, as much as kind of in the way that T described, but it is very, like you said, very stressful. Just because you really are trying to balance kind of just like your own life versus not only what they want for you, but because like you think your parents, have the best interests in mind. So of course you want to like keep them happy and make them proud, but you also have to think about your happiness and your mental. And so the struggle is just you're caught in between, and you don't like, how is it that you want to major in film when your parents want you to be an engineer? So where do you find that balance, or how do you have the conversation? How do you manage expectations? How do you prepare yourself for the reaction? That's just a lot of the things that we just have to like deal with, because some people in some culture and some families, they simply don't understand, like, why aren't you a doctor? Like I feel like why aren't you, like that's what we said you're going to be, so why aren't you a doctor? So
they set an expectation for their kids prior to even having them in a lot in a lot of examples. But
they have expectations of you. They have expectations of you before you're even born.
Yeah.
Shit, man. Like, I mean, I guess I think Chibs can probably relate to this. It's like East Asian cultures and like South Asian cultures, and really like that side of the world. It's like it's all like logistically and practically minded. Like, how does this like make you money? How does this like provide for your family? Like how does this not only that, like how does this like what does this do for like families is like an institution. It's like it's not like we're over here like on the Western side, it's like based on individualism. But on that side of the world, it's like how does this like what are you doing and how does this benefit like your family as a whole and like because your family is like your network.
Yup. Individualistic versus collectivist.
I-
Dropping bombs.
Yeah.
I will say, sorry, just a real quick comment. I will
Yeah.
say, I think for, well, I mean, I can't speak broadly, but from my understanding, it's not so much like for my family or maybe Nigerians in general about money. Yes, money is important, but for us, I think it's more about the prestige. I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like,
yeah, it's more or less like the
like-
title, like the prestige that comes with the title.
yeah,
You
'cause
know,
y'all know
and
how much
typically high titles come with money, but like the fact that you are like a lawyer or a doctor, that the title is all that's where it's at.
yeah, like if I was a truck driver making 150K a year, like nah,
Yeah.
you're a truck
Yeah,
driver.
exactly.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. T, you wanted to add something?
I just want to say, because I know we're talking about more families of immigrants and things like that. I mean, yeah, I come from a family of immigrants, but also I feel like single parent households, there does come this pressure of you need to be able to survive on your own. Like you have that same pressure for anyone that can't relate who isn't from an immigrant family. I'm sure that people who grew up with a single mom or a single dad, or maybe with their grandparents, not with a parent, they understand that same pressure of having to fend for yourself, and you need to have a job that's going to provide you with everything that you need.
Okay.
Dropping bombs. Dropping
Dropping bombs.
I guess another thing I want to add was like in I guess in our side of the world, like parents they take it as like a personal responsibility, as like what are your successes, it's like their responsibility, and therefore like they're not more inclined to like kick you out of the house at 18 or something like that. But and therefore the benefit is like they'll like parents will want you to live with them for as long as you can if you need it. But however, there's an expectation that they want you to meet, you know,
Have a job, be able to provide for yourself, like
Go to college.
go to college for sure.
no, not just that. Those are just things that are for you. Like, but like, what are you doing that makes their name look good?
Well, I mean, you have to be doing all of that in a sense to get to where you're going, right? So if we're talking about post like 18, I guess like right after high school, like I know that there are some cultures that are like, all right, you're 18, get the fuck out. Just get out, figure it out on your own, like do your own thing, you know?
Yeah,
But
well, I guess I'm talking more along the lines of like, for example, like getting married. Like oh, I'm mom, dad, I'm marrying, I'm dating this person, and she does so and so. Oh, is she a doctor? What does she do? Is she a lawyer? Like
Yeah.
that's your personal business. But then, like, how does she benefit the family?
Yeah,
Well,
how does she add value?
How does she add value?
That's misogynistic of you, Alif. But
Very.
no, I'm kidding. No, but that's true. That is true. Like I'm not gonna knock that. That is a true thing that Alif is saying. So I want to get your opinions on where do you draw the line on toxic family? So kind of picking off Alif's idea of, you know, family being really involved in relationships. If your mom were to insult your wife, like, is that a red flag? Or are you just talking to your mom and being like, yo, relax? You know, if your dad is pushing you, get a job, get a better job, blah, 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 blah. Like, do you cut that off? If your parents are Trump supporters or were Trump supporters, do you cut that line off? Like, what for you is seen as like okay versus like not okay?
I guess my first approach would be to like just to communicate, you know, just sit down and talk about it. Like, hey, like this is how I feel. Like, I don't think that's okay. Like, I'm not, you know, I know I understand. I'm your child. I'm your kid. But then also you gotta look at me as an adult too.
So is there
And-
anything that your parents could do that you would just that communication would solve everything, or is there something that they could do where you're just like, you know what, nope, cross the line, I'm out.
I mean, is I don't want to say yes or no because I've never been in that situation.
This is
yet.
hypothetical.
I mean, if they were completely in the wrong, like there's like it's on them, then I guess I'd be reluctant to spend more time with them. Maybe just I wouldn't interact with them as much.
Okay, T, I know you wanted to jump in, and then
I
we'll
just
go
want to
to
say, I would
Chibs.
say when a parent's interests are no longer in your best interests, you know, like I feel like a lot of the sometimes the toxic is they want you to be better. Well, in a sense, that's good, but when a parent straight up doesn't care for you and is harmful, I think that's when you draw the line. Like, no, this is not okay. You are not someone that I want in my life. You don't want the best for me, you know?
Okay.
Now, maybe in their mind they do want the best for you though. Maybe in their mind
That's
it's
the
like
way, that's the way they go about it. They're
Yeah,
only
maybe
human. They make mistakes.
yeah, maybe that is the way. So what do you say to that? Where's the line, or where is the? Because there's gonna be some like crossover there, you know.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like if your parent is mad at you because you're not going to college and because you want to be like an artist or something like that, you want to follow your passion. I think it's important to understand that they're not. I get it. It is toxic, but they're not trying to be. So I think in that case, you have to communicate.
Yeah, I agree. I feel
Chibs,
like
go off.
you have to determine the intent behind it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, because a lot of it's because there are like we said, like sometimes they're going to be really hard on you, but they really do like want you to be successful, and they believe that this is the way to get you there. It may like be too much. It may not be the way that works best for you, but that's what ultimately they're trying to look out for you, and this is how they think they're doing it.
Gotcha.
Versus like how T said, they're not looking out for your best interest. They're just just like railing on you just because they had a bad day at work. That's not helping you out at all.
Oh, that's toxic as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toxic alert.
Toxic alert. Cut
So,
them off.
Yeah. So
Immediately.
like I
Send
said,
them
it's
to a
all
nursing
about
home.
intent and best interests.
Okay. Well, that's fair, but so I think from what I'm getting, it seems like obviously supporting life decisions in the sense of is it going to make you enough money, or they're scared of that? How do you think it's healthy for parents maybe, or how for kids to communicate with their parents about passion versus practicality?
It's not just about like if it makes you money or not. It's also about like how it makes you look in the community.
I understand, but that's what I mean by passion.
Like, how do you have those conversations with them about something? That
Yeah,
you wanna do?
passion versus practicality.
I think every parent's different in a sense. Like, I think that there are some parents that are going to kind of let you ride with it if they see that you're committed to it and they know that that's something you want to do. And I think that other parents, you're going to have to show them the money before they're ever going to like sign off on it, right? Like, with Twitch streaming, like with Speaks, people might say, or your parents, I'm not saying that they're saying this, but they might be like, well, that's stupid. Speaks is playing video games all day, wasting his life. But if they saw a $10,000 check come in, then they're gonna see, okay, this makes sense.
Usually speaking, man, you just gotta prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not talking about me. My
success is the best revenge against your own family.
But yeah, no, I'm not talking about me. I'm just talking more so along. I'm talking more to the person that maybe wants to be an artist, or maybe wants to do, I don't know, you want to be the best.
I think it's success,
whatever.
but
Yes.
your success cannot be determined by a final dollar amount. And I think that that's important for the listeners who do want to follow in an artistic direction, whether it be videography, whatever, or they want to do something that's against what their parents want to do. They have to determine their own level for success.
Gotcha.
Because if they're just chasing it, thinking, once I get to this level, my parents are going to be happy, and their parents may never be happy just because they might not even agree with what they're doing, and they might never find like that internal happiness.
Well, another thing is that I guess like parents who immigrated here, for the most part, they think their idea of success, or it's not success, but it's their idea of normalcy is like you come here, you get a job, you start a family, you get kids. It's like doing that normal life cycle.
You die.
And then you die. Like to them, like that's normal. And I guess when you step outside of that, it's like it's not normal there. It's like what the fuck to them, you know?
Okay, T, I know you wanted to add on, T.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I can relate to that, and the way that I handled it. Obviously, my mom did not. I mean, she's supportive now, but in her eyes, she's like, "What? How are you gonna make money being a fitness instructor, like doing kickboxing?" I think it's important to lay out a plan. This is what I'm gonna do. I still want to take these steps to get to here. Blah blah blah. I think that it's important to not just go into it like I'm just gonna see where it goes, like whatever. You know, you have to definitely have the right steps and communicate to your parent, like, this is what I'm doing and this is my end goal.
For sure. So, I mean, I think in the spirit of that, like, I think that a lot of our parents do have our best interests. And I think that a lot of us on this pod have been fortunate enough to have, one great parent or two great parents. I'm not speaking for everybody, just assuming. And I think also another aspect of this that you see a lot in social media, but maybe not prevalent as much in this group, is the idea of like LGBTQ and like parents and like them coming out, and like how that's a whole different dynamic, and maybe like different religious freedoms. Like if your parents are very Christian or very Catholic and you grow up and you're just kind of like, oh, I don't believe in anything, I'm an atheist, like how that may determine your family dynamic. Speaks, I know you wanted to.
Yeah, I wanted to hit on this a lot. So for me, it's a pick your battles in a way, but because like certain things, like you're probably maybe not necessarily going to have them change their mind, but also recognizing like just because that's your parents' viewpoint doesn't mean it has to be you. You can continue to like you don't, because you also don't want to like pick fights with your parents constantly, because that's just going to add layers of like stress to you and you don't want to lose contact with your parents. But when it's something on the issue of like a racism thing or something along those lines, or I think it's important to really have those discussions and really try to get them to see the other side, because nobody should be judged for their skin color, their sexual orientation, or anything like that, because it doesn't affect them at the end of the day. There's no, in any way, shape, or form does it affect them. There shouldn't. It's when it comes to sexual orientation anyway, it doesn't affect you. How that person lives their life is how they live their life, and they're still the same person at the end of the day.
Well, I just want to counter that just really quick, because it does kind of go back to what Alif said. Well, because like, yes, you should be able to free to choose and live your life, but kind of like what Alif said, in different cultures, it does reflect on you, especially when that culture and stuff is like not as open, and so it's kind of just like how your child. I'm speaking from the perspective of a parent, like how your child acts then reflects on me. And so, especially when some cultures don't really, they see like sexuality as a choice. So now it's just kind of just like, well, why did you not teach them to choose to not do that,
Yeah, like I said, like your choices are a reflection of the image of your family, which the community, in that community.
Well, I guess maybe it's a situation of, that's why I said you can choose your battles on that. That's maybe there's a little bit more opinion based for that rather than not
saying you're wrong. Like I agree.
No, I know, but I'm saying like maybe it's a little bit more opinion based, because I did also say like in the beginning was choose your battles. Like if it's gonna be something where like maybe you've tried, and they're just a refusal to acknowledge or accept it, then I think the best way to do it is to maybe consistently echo that that's not your viewpoint, not in a argumentative way, but just it's not really a big deal, like
agree to disagree type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because like that's kind of how it is for me. Growing up with talking with my parents, not as accepting of people that are homosexual, bisexual, things of that nature. There's a disconnect there. And it doesn't matter to me. I accept people for however which way they look. And I think, especially in the Black community, I feel like that's the pot calling the kettle black. Is that it?
Yeah, that's like kind of the saying.
Yeah, like I mean, we're highly, you know, racist acts are in our history, are in our blood, and you're judging people based off of whatever it is, whatever criteria it is that you have an issue with. I feel like that's really, really toxic and not the way to do it. You know, that's really close-minded.
Yeah,
And it also highlights a lack of like a self-awareness.
Yeah.
The ideas of the thoughts of like self-awareness, mental health, like all these like new they're not new ideas, but like things are starting to become more prevalent in our generation.
Mhm.
Like this, like those are like concepts like our parents or maybe my parents or people like my parents just don't like grasp.
Mhm.
It's like 9 + 10 = 21.
21, yeah, and that's like really, and it's really difficult too, because I feel like in this day and age, like especially how accepting, and especially being in California where we're at, you know, and just really everything in general, like I feel like we should not be as judgmental in today's age.
Well, this is what I'll say to that, because I think there's a great saying that said, "Time will turn us all into bigots." Have you guys ever heard that one?
I have not, but continue.
So basically, what a lot of people reference to that is the time that, you know, people are born. So when you look at the era of, you know, when people had slaves, and you look into like just kind of all of those things, you're like, okay, all of these presidents were racist at that time because they were a product of their time. So it's kind of the same with our parents, is they think a certain way because they're a product of the time that they were in. We think a certain way because of the, you know, we are products of the time that we're in, and our kids will think a certain way because they're a product of the time that they're in. And they're going to look at us at one point like we're the old ones. Like we're conservative, like, oh, you don't think that implanting chips in your brain is a good idea, Dad? You're old, you don't get it. And we're gonna be like, what is going on with the youth? Like, why are they doing this? Like, this is stupid. You know, you don't believe that a man and a robot should be able to get married? Mama T, what is wrong with you? And like, you know, we're gonna be looked at as like the old generation that like doesn't understand.
Millennial boomers.
Do you think? Do you really? Do you? I guess maybe. Potentially. I mean, we'll have to wait to see how we find out.
We will be. Come on, like when you look at our generation, and I'm only using this as an example. Like maybe up until college, a lot of us still use the phrase like "that's gay." Like we still said that. You know, like we were still saying those things. T.
I do want to mention, I think an exception to that would be like hippies. You know, they've always been super liberal, even in a time where people weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
They were considered liberal for their time.
Yeah, I guess maybe. Yeah. I just feel like, I don't know, as we're growing up right now and everybody's kind of just becoming a little bit more accepting, it's hard for me to look like when I'm going to be 80 and be like, oh, what the heck's going on here back in my day? Because like, I know that times change, and I know that things are but that's also could just be a situation where it's just like, that's me, you know?
I think so too.
You know, because like
there's always gonna be something. Like it's kind of like, you know, you could always be someone who's like always on the progressive side of things, but that's the exception. That's not the rule.
Maybe because I know like,
and that's kind of what I want to say. Like, you know,
Maybe in the future we're the conservative.
Yeah, like,
maybe.
And we might honestly be
right now, and I think that this is a good topic for like its own podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I'm only just talking in terms of toxic family. So I'm gonna like I'm gonna
circle it back.
Close it off. I'm gonna circle it back. So when I'm talking about toxic family, kind of like my example when I was talking about my family, this has been one of the most polarizing elections. We've had everything from Antifa to Black Lives Matter to the Proud Boys to riots, police brutality. We had all of these things, you know, but like just mass shootings before COVID. Like this year has been absolutely nuts. You know, and we've had conversations with our family about a lot of these topics, and a lot of our family members, whether it be aunts, uncles, moms, dads, whatever, seem maybe regressive on certain issues. Maybe you're not seeing eye to eye, you know, and maybe their viewpoints a lot of the times could be viewed as toxic.
Mhm.
And I think that my only point to that, and just kind of circling this all back, is just to say, like, we need to, kind of like Kiki Palmer said, learn to forgive our parents, learn to understand our parents within reason. You know,
Mhm.
like, I think that there's a perfect bubble where you just look at your parents and you're just like, ah, you know what? I love you guys. You're just old. You know, like, and that's fine, because at some point we're gonna be that. Like, our kids are gonna be like, ah, you guys are just old. Like, I understand. Blah 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 blah. You know, and that falls within that bubble, like bubble A. And I think bubble B is like harder topics where it's like, you know, your parents kicking you out because you come out as gay or as trans, or, you know, using substance abuse, like physical abuse. Those types of things are like on a completely different scale. You know, and I just think that it's always important to, one, understand that our parents are human.
Yep.
If everyone that's listening to this, there's a wonderful GQ article with Andre 3000 where he talks about the loss of innocence, and when he realized, like, his mom, because his mom was talking to him about how she was like abusing crack or abusing cocaine, one of those two. And in that
Heavy.
moment, he realized, like, his mom is just a person. We look at our parents and we have like this idealistic view of them because we grow up with them. They're like Superman, Superwoman. They do everything for us. Like, they're perfect to us. And on a lot of minority cultures, it's like, we are perfect. You don't question your parents, you
Mhm.
know? But we always
Right.
have to understand that, like, our parents are not perfect. They are human. You know,
Yep.
they are flawed. They make mistakes. They aren't right 100% of the time, contrary to popular belief, but they're wrong.
Yeah.
And
I was just talking to my cousin about that actually.
yeah, there comes a time, you know, where we lose that innocence, where we see our parents not so much as parents, but more as just human beings.
Human
You know,
beings,
there's
but
like a
you
different
respect them.
connection. Of
Yeah.
course, you know, you respect them. But like I said, that comes within reason.
Yeah.
You know, you have bubble A, which is things I feel like are acceptable. You just kind of wash them off. You argue, you fight about things, but those are okay. And B, like, which is another traumatic bubble that's like, you know, very severe. And those kinds of things can be dealt with separately. And you're not technically forgiving them for the things that they've done to you, but you're more forgiving yourself to, like, allow yourself to heal from that.
Yeah. Agreed. 100%.
Mhm.
So, closing off this podcast, we'll get into some final thoughts. We'll start off with Alif, we'll go to T, we'll go to Chibs, and then we'll end it with Speaks. So, Alif, give us your final thoughts about toxic family, family expectations, and how you kind of battle those. Last tips for the listeners.
It's not a easy balance. I mean,
Mhm.
depending on like your parents' background, but it's a dynamic. You just gotta like kind of try to communicate with them as best you can, and then if you really truly believe in what you're doing, just show them up.
Okay.
They'll still
All right.
love you at the end of the day. They'll still love you at the end of the day.
Okay, cool. T.
I think this is more for, I mean, I'm pretty sure people can relate to growing up in an abusive household or with an addict. I think it's important to understand that it's not normal behavior. You know, don't think that people are supposed to treat you that way or that that's normal in a relationship, because it's not. And I think that it's important for you to just understand that you need to show up for yourself.
Okay, nice. I like that. Chibs.
Yeah, I just want to agree with Leaf in that sometimes conversations are going to be hard,
Mm-hmm.
but just gotta, you know, for your happiness and to like maintain the relationship, or maybe just to grow from the in the relationship, you know, you just have to have those conversations so you both understand, so you can like both be in a good place, you and your parents.
Okay, and then Speaks,
I
ending it with you.
I think that it's important for people to, I think, have some sort of mental counseling to understand, you know, where they're coming from, and just have that kind of like heart to heart with yourself to recognize certain patterns that you may not realize. And then from then, work to understand, listen, and forgive.
I like that. Thank you, everybody, for those beautiful, wonderful closing statements. Just remember, as an end disclaimer, we are not licensed therapists. So if you do find yourself in any of these positions, please reach out to a licensed therapist and get help. Find the resources you need. Thank you guys again for listening to this podcast. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We hope you continue to stay safe amid this pandemic. And that's it. Signing off, the Millennial Minute. Peace.